Hello and welcome to Web of Light. I'm Dr. Kevin and this is...
Angie Donahue. I know you're going to start again.
For a while I just said, hi, I'm Angie D'Anjou, so it would be pronounced correctly, and then I give it back to her and she does it all flat again. You have this musical name.
Musical name to use.
You have this musical name that is a better representation of the bubbliness of your personality. Yeah, she's not buying it. Can you tell she's not buying it? Huh? Angie D'Anjou. Anyways, welcome to Web of Light. If this is your first time watching us, or you are a recent viewer that is coming to us from some other part of the country or the world, please send us an email, Dr. Kevin, D-R-K-V-I-N, at weboflight.com, and let us know that you've joined our viewing audience. We are actually available all across the country, and we're not always notified when some new area or town picks us up. So we'd like to hear from you that you're watching this on your local TV station. So, Angie, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How about you?
Well, good.
You're looking like you just got back from King Richard's Fair.
Ah! Oh, well, I knew that you were going to think that this was about King Richard's Fair, which I have to say, it's the first time I've been to King Richard's Fair. For 5 years running, I went to the Arizona Renaissance Fair, which is on like 30 acres. It's got to be like twice the size of King Richard's Fair, which sizes and everything, depending on who you ask. But, so I was like, but King Richard's is an older fair. It's actually been around more years.
Quite a few years.
Yeah, yeah.
For those viewers who don't know what King Richard's Fair is, it's a fair that we have once a year up here in the New England area.
At Carver, Mass.
Carver, Mass.
Right outside of Plymouth. And it's a Ren Fair, a Renaissance Fair, Renaissance Festival. There are Ren Fairs all over the country, big, large, small, but this is one of the bigger ones. Arizona is certainly one of the bigger ones. Atlanta has a huge one. Florida has a huge one. New York has a huge one. And
they're fun to go to.
Yeah, and actually, I had a lot of fun at it. There's the turkey legs. I went to the washing well wenches show, where I was chosen to be the Inspector General of the laundry. And they didn't like my response, so the laundry got rewashed, soaking wet, and thrown at me across 4 things, smacking me upside the head, dripping wet, and they asked if that was clean enough. I said no, it still wasn't, and they came after me with a water bucket. Some people in the audience didn't love me. I don't know why. No sense of humor. So there was some good stuff. There was some. It's on until, I think, Halloween or so.
Yeah, I believe it goes right up until the end of October.
So it's open up every weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Now, I am going to warn it. I have one huge complaint with it. Okay? Mm-hmm. And that was, because I'm gluten-free. So everywhere I go, I have to look at gluten-free.
That's right.
And I'm gluten-free, not by choice, but, this is something that I get sick if I eat gluten.
Yes.
And so I got to King Richard's Fair, and they said they had a gluten-free option for their bread bowls of like chili and chowder and other things. And I thought, oh, great. This is great. I'm really excited that, a Ren Fair has kind of caught up with the times and will give you a gluten-free bowl. And I went to order one, and what their version of a gluten-free option was to put it in a plastic bowl.
Oh.
So you lose the bread, you lose half of the meal. Now, they're not going to charge you any less, and they're not going to give you any more of the filling. So, I was like, so I ordered something else when they told me what it was. But I was like, no. Bad King Richard Fair, no cookie. You have a gluten-free option when all you're doing is stick it in a plastic bowl. That really doesn't qualify. And you can get gluten-free bread bowls. And I had at least 3 people that I heard ask around the same time I was that all did the same thing and said, well, I'll get something else. Now, they still made a sale because, they're pirates and robbers among the Renaissance, so you can't bring food in, you can't bring drink in, you can't bring water in, you can't bring in anything but money. But so I am going to be going on social media this week and blasting King Richard Fair for false advertising. But outside of that, I had a good time. Jeff found two parts for his wedding outfit because we're going to do a Renaissance themed wedding. So we were looking for capes and different things. So he found two parts for his wedding garb. So that was exciting. But that's not why I am dressed like this. So why else might I be dressed like this? Making you think, making you think.
Well, I believe that it has something to do with your guest today.
So now you think it might have something to do with our guest today. Well, it might have been in honor of our guest today. I think it would be appropriate, and I've got a few pointed questions for our guest today.
Okay.
Because there is seems to be a strong love affair between paganism and Renaissance type stuff. So I'm gonna poke at that a little bit. It could have been, because this is a Celtic cross on my boots, and and here, and Celtic knots, and that's all very big. But no, that's not it either.
You're all full of surprises.
Hey, it's life without a few surprises, honey. The reason I'm dressed like this is because I did one of those things that you do on Facebook where you put your thing in, and it declared that my natural position in the world was to be the ruler. So I put on my king's outfit. I am here to declare I am ruler of the world. We don't have to have the presidential elections. They just have to, just set up my coronation.
Wait a minute.
What? You don't think I'd be better than Hillary or Donald?
Okay, I took that same test.
Yeah.
Guess what I got?
Vagabond?
The ruler.
Did you? Oh. Well, there can't be two of us, and clearly I am dressed to be a ruler. This is not a king's outfit.
Sorry. If I had known, I would have come in with the Queen of Hearts outfit.
You said Queen of Tarts?
Hearts.
Oh, hearts.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. I think it was that being at the Renaissance Fair all weekend. They're very bawdy.
But you see, when I read the ruler piece, which I'm sure you did, it was about having the qualities of bringing together community.
Yes. So I shall make you my Duchess in charge of community building. I think that works. So you have the quote today. So we'll go do the quote, and then we will bring on our guest.
So today's quote is kind of like at the show now where we're welcoming autumn in. And today's quote is from John Greenleaf Whittier. He was a Quaker poet. He was born in Haverhill, Mass., which I thought was kind of nice. He's from the area many, many years ago. But his quote is, "The tints of autumn, a mighty flower garden, blossoming under the spell of the enchanter, frost." And I just brought that quote out today, primarily because they've been talking about frost, and it's like everybody gets all like, frost is coming. But honestly, autumn brings into the frost, and every single season that we allow ourselves to be a part of has its own beauty. So we need, especially here in New England. Yeah, summer is finished. We had a fabulous summer, or I hope everybody did. Now we're going into a beautiful autumn season, and we can now enjoy all the brilliant colors of the foliage. We can enjoy all of that piece of, smelling the acorns and all that. But yes, frost is coming as we proceed on through the next month.
So
enjoy all of the beauty of it. Don't go, oh, it's getting cold, and because that brings you to a point of just sitting there and not enjoying that moment. So let's enjoy it while we have it. Some places never see this. Some places never experience this.
Well, I'll tell you, from somebody who lived in Phoenix for 5.5 years, I appreciate the fall now more than I used to. Mm-hmm. Coming back and relocating back here in New England, I am loving I go out on my deck every morning, and I do a daily spiritual practice. I tell all my clients and my students and stuff like that about daily spiritual practices, and I do daily spiritual practices. And so every morning I get up at 5:30 and I go out, and now it's dark when I go out. I have to wear a couple of layers a little bit. It was like 36 degrees this morning, and I light a candle on my outside porch, and draw my oracle guide for the day, the energy for the day as it comes, and stuff like that. And it's just very invigorating, and so I find fall very invigorating, very beautiful, very aromatic. Aromatic. I love the smell of fall. And fall brings lots of things. And and then it's just a natural progression. We go from frost to Frosty the Snowman. Oh, I'm sorry. But we don't want to push the seasons.
No.
So
We'll enjoy fall, enjoy the autumn.
Yeah. Well, and then for some people, fall is a very good time because it's a time to celebrate Samhain.
Oh, yes.
Yes, yes.
So today we're going to have a little in-depth on a little bit of what Samhain is all about, maybe?
Yeah. Well, today our guest is Mike Dolan. He is the publicity director for Celebrate Samhain. Mike has been a longstanding member of the New Hampshire pagan community, ran a metaphysical business, crafting handmade wands and woodworking pieces. He was a lead singer for a pagan band called Featherscale and is one of the coordinators of the annual Magical Marketplace, which is also in Nashua. So, Mike, welcome.
Hi, Kevin, Angie. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you.
So I'm going to have you talk about the event. I'm actually going to be at the event.
I was aware of that.
But, I'd like to start with an educational piece. What is Samhain? And there's a couple of different pronunciations. How do you pronounce it?
It is pronounced Samhain, and a lot of people get confused because it is spelled Samhain. So it's not spelled anything like it sounds in English. That's because it's a Celtic word. So it comes from the Gaelic language, where they have a lot of letters that are, how to put this? Gaelic tends to use a lot of consonant pairs, the way that in English we use things like a silent E at the end. Those are letters that aren't pronounced. They're just there to tell you how to pronounce everything else.
So an MH is pronounced like a W.
Yes.
Yeah. My Celtic name is Karen, Kerh. Apostrophe little A-I-N, I think, and it means a great spiritual warrior.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, which is kind of sort of fitting. So you're dealing with Taurus when they say celebrate Samhain. Samhain.
Yes.
Samhain.
Yes. So there's always that moment of wondering whether you should correct people or just let it go.
So before we get into the event Celebrate Samhain, which is happening right here in Nashua on October 15th, and we'll have all the details at the end of the show for that, but October 15th at the Courtyard Marriott, which is actually the same place that we're doing our Web of Light Expo, Earth Day weekend.
Fantastic.
And you're doing another one there.
Yes, that's where we host the Magical Marketplace and Psychic Fair in March. Which is an event that I started with a friend of mine. We were both vendors for years and years on the festival and fair circuit, and I had been performing for years with Featherscale and as a solo act. And we did one event years ago that we just left there saying, we're just going to do this ourselves from now. And we started the Magical Marketplace and Psychic Fair. I believe you were there the first year or two
couple of years
for us.
there, yeah.
And since that first year, we've expanded at least 5 times over. We are now in our 3rd location at the Courtyard Marriott, which we absolutely love. They're wonderful people there, and we keep trying to grow and expand the event. It's become very popular, and this year we've always considered Celebrate Samhain to be kind of our sister event. We're very close to the folks who started that, and And we always liked the fact that Magical Marketplace is kind of the first event of the season and Celebrate Samhain is the last. So it's another kind of thing. We always had this affinity for each other's events. And this year we stepped in to help out a little bit and do some promotion and help with wrangling our vendors and readers who are fantastic folks. And I'm really looking forward to this year.
I have to ask, when you go in to see a lot of people, they do not understand Samhain. A lot of people who, I guess it's they do not understand the pagan community.
Right.
And so I'm going to bring that to light because I'd like you to explain a little bit about the pagan community, because a lot of people are always under the impression that, oh, there are people that are totally against everything that's positive, or they get this evil. It's not at all. So
Michael?
give me a little bit of talk.
Yeah. Michael?
Yes.
No pressure here. You are now the voice for the whole pagan community around the world. No pressure. I just want you to know, no pressure. But if you say anything that any pagan in the world disagrees with, it's on your shoulders. Go ahead.
You can send hate mail to Mike.
Mike the pagan at.
Well, pagan is an umbrella term, so it refers to a lot of things, and there's a lot of argument over which religions or groups should or should not be considered pagan. But for my own personal definition, I pretty much break it down to three factors. One, which is that they're polytheistic, believing in multiple deities or multiple facets or forms of deity. And this can be a little bit of a flexible interpretation. Second is a belief in magic and forces and powers that maybe we don't quite understand or deal with frequently on this plane, but that there's something else beyond the physical world. And third, a respect and reverence for the earth and for the natural cycles. And Samhain itself is one of the 4 Celtic fire festivals, which take place 4 times a year. We have Samhain, which coincides with Halloween on October 31st. There is Beltane, which corresponds with May Day on May 1st. Imbolc is February 2nd, and then Lunasa is August 1st. The timing of these can be fudged a little bit depending on the particular cycle. The solstices and equinoxes and things don't always fall on the same days every year. It's a broader cycle. But all of these holidays are basically based around the agrarian cycle. So Beltane is the holiday where you plant your fields, and Lunasa is the harvest of the grain, and then Imbolc is the time of year when livestock start producing milk and start visibly getting ready to give birth in the spring. And Samhain is the 3rd and final harvest after the grain harvest and the fruit harvest. Samhain is known as the blood harvest, which sounds very scary and ominous, but what it actually...
Go ahead, blood. I knew that would come to this.
Yes.
I brought my knife.
And
I have it here, somewhere. Back.
So the blood sacrifices of the blood harvest, which is nowhere near as scary as it sounds. What it is that's the time of year when you cull your herds and you decide which of the livestock will be saved for breeding over the winter and which will be slaughtered for food for the winter. And again, this is one of the things that attracted me to paganism in the first place was this reverence and this connection to the natural world and the natural cycles. And so much of it is about the food because we lose track. We've become very disconnected from where our food comes from. Meat comes from a little styrofoam package on a shelf at a freezer in the supermarket. And we forget that these were living cattle and pigs and chickens, and that at some point they had to be killed and processed so that we could eat. And we've lost touch with that. And that was, again, one of the purposes of building this holiday and these rituals around the culling of the herds. It shows respect for those animals, and it shows gratitude towards the gods and the earth and
Cycles.
for providing for us.
So I've got a couple of questions, and I'm going to start with a comment, which is, people have become disconnected with where their food comes from. Most people don't realize that a lot of what they eat today comes from a laboratory that killed the rat when they tested it on it, but they put it out and they call it food. But when you get beyond the majority of junk food and you get into what's left of real food, which is the minority now in the grocery store, am I right?
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I mean, I've yet to see anything come out of off a farm or out of cattle or anything like that that started with benzoid crapola as its main ingredient. So a lot of times people, when they think pagan, and we're calling it to celebrate Samhain a pagan event. Are all Wiccan pagan? Because that's the other popular thing. Do you have to be a Wiccan to be a pagan, and vice versa?
Well, as I said, pagan is an umbrella term, and it refers to a lot of different traditions, and some people self-identify as pagan and some don't, and some people say that, well, any group that's polytheistic, like the Hindus or the Native Americans, should be considered pagan, while other people are saying, no, that's their own thing and has nothing to do with it. Generally, consensus would largely hold that Wiccans and the Reconstructionists of like the Celtic and Norse traditions, so the Druids and the Asatru, consensus would tend to put those under the pagan umbrella. Again, there will be people who are, once again, direct hate mail to Mike
the Pagan at getalife.com. Again, that's Mike the Pagan at getalife.com.
But it's the other thing that Samhain is about, and again, there's this whole thing of the food and the natural cycle, but it's also, again, that idea of something beyond our material realm. And Samhain is, because it's as winter is coming and the days are getting shorter and shorter, and we're entering the dark half of the year, it's a between time, and the veil between the worlds is thin. So this is why the holiday is also associated with death and things. But in our view, there's a lot to celebrate with that. Again, it's a harvest, so it means we're hopefully going to have food to survive the next several months. And because these veils are thin, it is also a time for us to honor our ancestors, and to honor the spirits of place and time and what are about. So again, Samhain eventually evolved many traditions which have wound up in our commercialized Halloween holiday, with the ghosts and goblins and trick-or-treating. And a lot of this stuff has origins with the Samhain holiday and honoring our ancestors and believing they're here with us for that period.
As well as All Souls Day.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, and actually, that's my talk. I'm doing Ghost.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
doing Ghost at the Celebrate Samhain thing. One of the original founders in Kevin,
Yep,
that we both
yes,
know, approached me about doing my Ghost topic, because I've done it there, did it there years ago. And now I'm back in the area. He asked me to come back and do Ghosts again, which is part of that reference. So is pagan and heathen interchangeable?
No, there's...
Hey, look, I have to ask the questions for my audience.
Yes.
And somewhere, there's going to be somebody watching this, and they're going to hear pagan, and they're going to think heathen.
Well, if you ask some pagans, they'll probably say yes, and if you ask most heathens, they will very vehemently disagree. But heathenry normally refers to the Norse Reconstructionist religion. So these are people who follow the Norse deities and the Norse way of life, which has a lot of cultural overlap with the Celtic traditions. But in my experience, the Norse heathens are people who worship less and practice more. They, in my experience, tend to view it less as a series of religious ceremonies and more of a lifestyle. You have your 9 noble virtues of hospitality, strength, honor, loyalty, and it's about living those values every day and feeling that connection to the gods and the lands and the spirit every day as part of your life, rather than compartmentalizing like some of us have a tendency to do.
So, and I know you got a question as well, but so one of the things is I find very interesting is, quote unquote, heathens refer to living the life of your religious beliefs.
Yes.
And yet, heathen has most been stoled by Christians to refer to pagans, and know any of all things. But there is certainly there's a decided band of Christians who really don't in any way, shape, or form live the values they profess. But yet they grab this word heathen, which actually means somebody who's very much living what they believe in. How did that happen, do you know?
I assume it would just have to do something with if we're busy living our lives according to our religious beliefs, we can't be living them according to their religious beliefs, and some people might have a problem with that.
Can you be Christian and pagan?
There is a little overlap. A few people, and again, it's part of, well, for example, there are traditions which teach that all forms of deity are faces or avatars of the true deity. And for the people who follow those particular paths, that would include the various Buddhas, Jesus, Krishna,
Ganesh,
all of the different gods and goddesses from around the world, all being part of this same energy. So it is possible to believe that and pull from this tradition and pull from that tradition and read, some of the teachings of Jesus and try to incorporate those as part of that practice. Other people, they're more focused on, I know in my own spiritual path, I'm a lot more focused on a couple specific Celtic deities, and those are the ones that I work with, and those are the ones that I take inspiration from, and I've received messages on a couple occasions saying, so these are your people and those are not, and you can visit, but these are your people.
Now, you didn't mention my favorite deity,
Which is?
the Great Pumpkin. I think that the Great Pumpkin is sadly under-supported, and I do my best to bring the knowledge and wisdom of the Great Pumpkin wherever I go. So I just want to put that out there. That's a legitimate deity.
So we will find you hiding out in the pumpkin patch, just waiting for that,
Yeah.
that peak at night.
Yeah, I won't be waiting alone because, you know, it is, after all, a time of harvest.
Right.
Okay, so before I ask any more questions and we get on to actually some of what's going on in the event, I know you had a question. And
Yeah, I actually want to go back because you were talking about the like the morals or the standards.
Yeah.
Those of the pagan or of the heathen?
Those are actually the Asatru, the heathens, the Norse heathens have 9 noble virtues, which I can try to remember all of them off the top of my head.
Do the
but
pagans have a similar?
Well, again, when we're talking about this umbrella terminology that encompasses a lot of different groups, the Wiccans have their own morality, which basically begins with the words, if it harm none, do as ye will, which basically say, which some people consider a moral code, but it's really more of the first step of the moral code, which is, what are you thinking of doing? Does it hurt anybody? No, then, okay. Then
Next question.
Next question.
not,
Yeah.
that's the answer.
Right.
That, if you stop there, then you're more flirting with hedonism.
Right.
Another one of my favorite religions. I'm just saying.
I'll definitely put in a good word for hedonism.
So when we go into the pagan aspect, primarily it is of the earth,
Yes.
do unto others as you would do unto,
And
it's a similar idea
And again,
as any other religions.
in Druidry and the Celtic practice, which is a little closer to my own, we have, our moral beliefs, and a lot of them are very similar again to the Norse heathenry. We value things like hospitality and honor, and these are important. And again, it's having that understanding, and this is something that I think flows throughout the pagan religions, whether we're talking about the Greek, Hellenic religions, or the Egyptian Kemetic religions, or Wicca, or Norse heathenry, or Druidry. There's an emphasis on this web of life and web of action. The Norse talk about weird, which is often misinterpreted as merely fate or destiny, but it's a lot more complicated than that. It's not just your fate, it's everyone's fate, and how we all interact. And we are all tied together by these invisible webs of association and fate and magic in the world.
So for a moment, I'm going to kind of bring us away from, I actually want to ask you
Okay.
about something, and I'm not sure if you'll know, but in the springtime, you have a Astara.
Yes.
I want a little bit of, see, I always bring, I'll be honest with everybody around here, when I do my classes and my workshops, I actually bring out a star a lot when it's that point of the season, because the pagans actually started a celebration that was beautiful.
Yes.
And then the Christian religions and all others started to follow through after their fact. So
Yes.
I want just a little bit about a star.
And we notice this too. A lot of the pagan holidays have morphed into Christian holidays. We have Christmas falling suspiciously close to Yule and incorporating a lot of that imagery, and again, Samhain and Halloween. And Ostara is now Easter has co-opted a lot of the imagery, but Ostara is the spring equinox, and this comes in between Imbolc, which again is when the livestock is getting ready to birth, and Beltane, which is when you're planting the field. And Ostara is a time when the livestock is just starting to birth and you're just beginning to prepare the fields for planting. Spring is just starting to come. Life is returning to the world after the 6 months of darkness and winter. And it's that time when we're beginning to see again that promise that these cycles will renew, that life will return to the world and things will be green and we'll have abundance. And Ostara is definitely a wonderful holiday.
It is, and I always bring it out in my workshops, primarily because if you look in, and I tell anybody, even in my workshops, always look up Ostara. I've been brought up Christian. I get more meaningfully absorbed with Ostara than I do with Easter. And I always wondered why, and then I figured out because that was the beginning of bringing that community together, bringing them together and enjoying the fact that everything was reopening, refurbishing.
Yeah.
So it is a beautiful, for people to realize pagan had their start way in the past. And then these other religious beliefs and other, like Christian or even others, started to follow and go in their route as well. So that's my knowledge with you.
Yeah. And I think it raises an important point too, in that, again, one of the things that differentiates us a little bit is we don't view these things as linear, that you're born and then you live and you die and then you go to some other plane and live forever there. It's about the cycle. We have death so that we can have rebirth. And this life, death, rebirth cycle is just so very important. And we like to pretend, we like to ignore death, and we like to pretend it doesn't exist, and forget that this rich, fertile soil that feeds us, that we grow our crops in, that springs all this life on the land. What that actually is death and rot and decay, and that's necessary in order to have life and this vibrant
Renewal.
web of creation. And Samhain's kind of about acknowledging that.
So, at what point of death, decay, swamp-like stinkiness does Washington, D.C. have to get to before it will be reborn into something beautiful? Because it's pretty bad right now. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That wasn't the conversation. Sorry. I hate it when I do that. You don't have to answer that question. We won't get distracted by that. I just wondered.
Well, if we want to look at it in terms of natural cycles, there are cycles. Some points are a little harder than others. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. There was that was an eye roll. So, tell us more about the actual event, Celebrate Samhain. What's going on? What people can expect? Is there and I'm curious, Celebrate Samhain as an organization?
Okay.
Does it have a life beyond one event a year? Talk to us.
At the moment, it's primarily just the one event in October. Although, again, we consider it kind of the sister event to the Magical Marketplace in March or April. So we have both ends of the season there. But the event itself has been running for, I think about a decade now. Quite a while.
15 years, isn't it?
Wow, even longer. Even
it's
how time flies.
I think it's 15.
But yeah, so it's been running for quite a while. It's had a great run, and we're hoping to see it expand and grow a little bit in its new home in Nashua. But there's a ton of stuff planned. We have a bunch of speakers. Again, you'll be doing your talk on ghosts and spirits. We've also got Roxy Zwicker, who's an amazing, she's a psychic reader, and she owns a company that does ghost tours and historical tours. I actually just did one of them, her trolley tour, just on Friday. Jenna Green, who's one of our performers, and I actually, Roxy invited us on her tour, and it was fantastic. And she's going to be doing a talk on Wicked Witches of New England and talking about some of the historical witchcraft and witch-related stuff outside of Salem, because there is a bit more that happened besides just the one town that we always think of.
There was a lot more that happened than just what happened in Salem.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, Salem didn't even happen in Salem for the most part. It happened in Salem Village, which is now Danvers. A lot of people don't realize that. But
My sister lives in Danvers, so it's okay when I call her a witch. No, only joking. I love my sister. Just a joke. She knows my sense of humor. It's twisted. Go ahead.
So we've got.
I'll hear about that.
We've got Roxy doing her historical presentation. We've got Adam Sartwell, who's one of the founders of the Temple of Witchcraft, and he's going to be teaching a class on ancestral magic, which again, Samhain, this very much this focus on the ancestors and the past and history and these, and getting in touch with that, since we'll also be doing a ritual at the end of the day. Lord Raven and Lady Lyrian will be leading a ritual to honor the ancestors. That'll be taking place at the end of the day. And what else do we have for workshops? We have Jeffrey Kernison. He's a spiritual practitioner. He teaches a lot of body magic, including energy magic, with Tai Chi sort of things. And he's going to be teaching a class on cunning craft, art of the wise. And one of my personal favorite presenters, Dawn Hunt. She's the face and mind behind Cucina Aurora Kitchen Witchery, and she has this company where she makes flavored oils and things.
Stuff.
Oh, tasty, tasty. And she's an amazing cook. She's published a couple cookbooks, and she's doing a workshop on kitchen witchery and bringing a little bit of magic into your cooking, using seasonal ingredients and seasonal things for the holiday. And I'm looking forward to that because I've caught her spring foods cooking class, and I really want to see the fall foods cooking class. She's amazing, and then we've got our performers as well. We have Kellyanna and Jenna Green and Brian Willowfire, and they're all going to be performing. Jenna, again, a good friend of mine. She performed on my last album, and she's an incredible Celtic harp player and songwriter, and just an amazing talent, and just such a wonderful person. I love Jenna so much. And
so, because I promised it at the beginning before we even brought you on, is there a love affair between pagan and the Renaissance? Because there seems to be a lot of crossover.
yeah, I think it's kind of like, there's a bit of crossover, and I'm not. I'm kind of torn between saying maybe it's just like beer and football. If you like one, you're probably going to like the other. But I think there's also people who, again, spend a lot of time thinking about their ancestors and thinking about the way their ancestors lived and the way their ancestors believed, are maybe going to be a little more in touch with wanting to relive parts of their history. So,
Okay.
just a theory.
Well, I mean, I've been curious because, you know, there seems to be this crossover. The pagan community tends to be very attractive a lot of times to the LGBT community as well, because of its ability to accept.
Yes.
The whole acceptance piece. And being at King Richard's Fair, I saw a lot of stuff being sold that, you know, would be very pagan-oriented stuff, and, you know, everything from stuff with pentagrams and different stuff that I was like, I mean, any pagan would have felt at home there.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So, but we do seem to have a fascination with the Renaissance.
A little bit. And again, I think it has something to do with that it was a much more agrarian society. We hadn't started in with industrialization, which, although then again, there are plenty of city pagans as well. The Greek and Roman traditions especially were very much based on city folk and their ideas and ways of life. But again, these things that have influenced most of what we think of as being under this pagan umbrella tend to be from the agrarian age and in Western Europe. So.
Okay, well, Angie and I are going to be going into our wrap down. So again, time, is there a price for the event? Where can people find it?
Yes, well, the best thing to do is swing by our Facebook page, which is Facebook/NH Samhain. And again, Samhain is spelled Samhain, and you can get all the information on the event right there.
A ton of fun. So we want to thank Mike Dolan, who is the publicity director for Celebrate Samhain, which I believe it's either into its 12th or 15th year, but it's been around for a while. I've been at the event before. And Mike, I look forward to seeing you there.
Yes, very much.
I will absolutely be there. And Mike is also the co-founder of the Magical Marketplace, which will also be at the Courtyard Marriott. And will be like 1 month to the weekend just before our Web of Light Expo, which is Earth Day weekend.
Yes.
So you were talking about Web of Life, and I was like, but Web of Light, say Web of Light. Because it is the Web of Light show.
Yes,
You blew your opportunity. Okay. So, Mike, we hope you've had fun.
I have. Thank you for having me.
And if you haven't had fun, it's your own fault, because we're fun.
Thank you for sharing all of your information, even though you will get hate mail.
And that again is Mike the Pagan at getalife.com. So Angie, we've got a lot of events coming up, both separately and together. I don't know if we can get I don't know if they still have our events list that we had on the last show that can show up or not. But if not, October 1st.
We'll actually have it's a full day for us too.
Yes.
We start out with my annual psychic fair, which is over at the Hampton Inn in Nashua. We have a delightful amount of people that will be joining us. And that's always a fun event. I usually give a portion of the proceeds from that event go to, honestly, I've started to go right into Hudson, because I've been working with the food pantry that is located down on Library Street. So honestly speaking, that's been the one that I've been really pushing towards, because of the fact that I guess I know some of the people that are involved with
benefited?
it, and they really do a good job with being there and dispersing it properly. So that will be all day, 9:30 to 4:30.
And then at 6
And
o'clock
then at
that night.
6 o'clock, you get yourself getting ready, because by 6:30, we're going to open up our doors to an evening of channeling with Dr. Kevin and myself. We'll be working with spirit and deceased loved ones. And
Words of wisdom, yes. We always start we always start every show with our word of wisdom, which is usually a quote. This event actually is going to be us opening up our intuitive. I mean, I know the same is true for you, that sometimes until somebody asks a question, if we've never thought about it, we don't ever get an intuitive, somebody will be like, what about blah? And so as somebody who's worked as a channel and a trance channel and a medium, so your loved ones could possibly show up, we'd be open to that. But, sometimes people just want to know, like, what's really up in the world? And until somebody asks, my intuitive, and like, again, your intuitive, doesn't necessarily know. So you could be asking personal questions, world questions, humanity questions, or you might want to see if some people want to talk to you. So that, again,
somebody's hanging along with you.
6:30 at the Hampton Inn in Nashua. On the 15th, you also have an event, which is...
I actually have an event, which I'll be missing Zowen. So I'll be at Exeter for my annual psychic fair up at the Hampton Inn in Exeter, 59 Portsmouth Ave. Again, we have fun at that. We have a few jewelry people, different types of arts and crafts, psychics to offer. And, we have a good day. Door prizes, hourly door prizes, free general admission. Come on down and enjoy the day if you're up in that area.
And on that 15th, Angie and I are going to be parting company for the day. So sad. I will be at Celebrate Samhain. I will be there for the blood harvest, talking about ghost. What are ghosts? How not to become a ghost. Because every ghost that's there now was a soul that walked on the earth plane and did a series of choices that trapped their soul out of their incarnational cycle. So if you have a soul, you could become a ghost. So come find out what ghosts are not, what's the difference between ghosts and demons and ghost clearings and exorcisms. And depending on the amount of time we have, I even tell one or two real-life ghost stories. I did my first ghost clearing in 1977. And in fact, when I was in England last year for 4 months, in the first couple of weeks I was there, I cleared like 6 ghosts. Wasn't my plan when I went over there, but it was kind of what I got immediately pulled into. So that will be October 15th. And then we are also doing Shaman Dream Gifts. They're doing a Halloween weekend psychic fair at the Fox Run Mall in Newington, New Hampshire. So that's going to be Saturday, Sunday. I'm going to be there Saturday.
And I'll be there Sunday.
And I might be there Sunday, I might not. It kind of depends. But we may just split it up. So there'll be some stuff going on there. And that will be a fun time up in Newington, New Hampshire at the Fox Run Mall. We also, I have just started a whole line of online courses. And so if you want to find out more of those, I'm doing a spiritual development series every Tuesday afternoon, or you can catch the replay. I'm doing a class a week between last week till the 27th of December, a class a week on your spiritual development and how to create your spiritual path.
And don't forget,
yes,
you're going to have your fire ceremony and your drawing ceremony on the 17th of October.
17th of October. And come to Gathering in Spirit.
I'll be at my center in Hudson, New Hampshire.
So as we close today's show and we come down here, life is about seasons. We have seasons as humans. Nature has seasons. When we are within the seasons of life, when we are within the seasons of our soul, we are born, we live, we die, we are reborn. It's the way the world works. We have death and birth through our whole life cycle. We are always having things, ages, people, ideas, belief systems that come, rule our lives, go away, and get replaced by something else. We evolve and we grow. So we can grieve, and there's nothing wrong with grief, but we can also celebrate, because every death leads to a new rebirth. So if there is something that you have lost, celebrate what it taught you. Look forward to what space it has left for you to fill with something new, and honor its life through true celebration. Namaste.